Does my business need to worry about the Corporate Transparency Act? My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm a business law and estate planning attorney with offices in Edina, Minnesota and New York City. And today let's take a look at the Corporate Transparency Act, going to effect January 1st, 2024, and look at some basic information that you, the business owner, needs to know about it. When it comes to changes in the business law, there's usually two types. One are small changes that we don't necessarily have to worry about, and a lot of business owners are comfortable just reading that quick blurb from their attorney or their accountant and moving on with their life. The second is something like the Corporate Transparency Act, we call it the CTA, which is going to effect January 1st, 2024. Past few weeks have found a lot of clients and prospective clients calling my office wondering, what is the CTA and is it going to affect me and my business? So let's first look at what is the CTA, the Corporate Transparency Act. Going to effect on January 1st, it's going to require what the Act calls reporting companies to disclose the ownership information to FinCEN, which is known as the Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network part of the government. So if you haven't had to report your ownership interest before, because in many states when you're filing an LLC or other corporate interests, you may not actually have to file for who the owners of the company are. Well, in this case, the CTA is going to require us to disclose some owner information when it comes to a lot of small businesses. So first up, who needs to disclose their ownership? The reporting companies are entities that are formed or registered in the United States. They're going to be registered with your local state, usually your Department of State, your Department of Corporations in your state. However, there are actually 23 exceptions to what a reporting company is, and we'll go through those in a minute. We're not going to go through all 23, but we'll go through some of the bigger categories. So once we figured out who needs to disclose their ownership, let's figure out when we have to disclose that ownership. And there's going to be three different categories of ownership disclosures right now. The first one, if you're a company that's formed before January 1st, 2024, you have 1 year from January 1st, 2024 to file your CTA filings. If you're a company formed after January 1st, 2024, you need to file within 90 days of forming your company. Now, originally this time period was going to be 30 days, but they've recently updated the regulation to say you'll have 90 days if you create your company in 2024. And currently, as it stands, companies formed after January 1st, 2025 will have that 30-day time period to file their CTA filings of beneficial ownership after they filed. Again, down the road, they may change that regulation and make it 90 days as well for companies after. But as of right now, when I'm shooting this video in December 2023, the January 1st, 2025 and after time period is just 30 days. Now, if you already own a company and you've filed your CTA ownership statements, if you change ownership down the road, or if you have new business owners come on board, you will have 30 days from that change in ownership to file your updated paperwork with FinCEN. Now, as I said before, there's going to be some exceptions to the filing requirements, so it's not every company in the United States required to file under CTA. So some common exceptions that are not going to have to worry about this filing: nonprofits, political organizations, tax-exempt trusts. We also have things like public companies, insurance companies, banks, registered investment companies, and other companies that already are subject to some kind of financial regulation. Think of like the SEC. They're already regulating their advisors and their financial advisors, and so they've already got the information that would have been in your CTA filings. We have large operating companies. Now, these are defined as companies that have more than 20 full-time U.S. employees. They report more than $5 million of revenue from U.S. sources last year, and they have a physical presence at a physical location in the United States. And then if we have a subsidiary of one of these organizations that is exempt, then that subsidiary does not have to do a CTA filing. If you're running a small business, you can probably see you might not fit into some of those exceptions. And in fact, I think that's where this law is going. Most of the small businesses that I work with are going to fit into the CTA requirements, and we will now have to disclose the beneficial ownership. So my clients have been asking the last few weeks, what are we going to have to disclose in these filings? So we're going to have to disclose the information on what are called beneficial owners. And this is going to be some really important information that you're going to have to be filing with the government: your full legal name, date of birth, your address, and a photocopy of a current government-issued ID. Now, it's not only going to be the owners who are doing the filing. If you are using someone like an attorney or an accountant or your finance person to do the filing for you, that person also has to submit that information, their legal name, their date of birth, their address, and a photocopy of a current government-issued ID. So not only is it the owners, but also the people working with the owners to file these statements. So now you're probably asking, who are the beneficial owners? Who in the company do we have to be disclosing? First is if somebody exercises substantial control over the entity, and that can be direct or indirect, or somebody who owns or controls more than 25% of the ownership interest in the company. So again, you can see we have a small business with, let's say, 2 or 3 owners. Chances are all of the owners will have to be disclosed as part of the CTA filing. Now, the big concern that I have, and a lot of the people have who've reached out to me, are whether or not these filings are going to be public. So as of right now, the information we have is that they will not be publicly available. So your name and your social security number or your government ID is not going to be available out there. However, it will be available to law enforcement if needed for investigations, if there's a court order, and to a financial institution if you, the beneficial owners, consent to that information being given to the financial institution. So we're still before the date that it goes into effect. So it's still before January 1st, 2024 when I'm shooting this video. So we're still going to have more questions. We're going to wonder what the filings look like and what the effect of the system is going to be going forward. However, if you're starting a business and you are worried about your CTA filings, it's very important that you get your filing done before January 1st, 2024, so that you'll have the full year of 2024 to figure out how you want to do your CTA filings and what you want to disclose. And if there's a reason you don't want to have somebody listed as a beneficial owner, now's the time to work with an attorney to make sure you have your corporate structure set up correctly. So again, there's going to be more questions than answers when it comes to the CTA. But if you'd like to take that next step and reach out, you can go to my website, andrewmayers.com. There's a red legal strategy session button on the front page. If you click it, you'll be taken to my scheduling calendar where we can set up what we call a legal strategy session. It's a 15 or 20-minute phone call where we can discuss the CTA, we can discuss your business structure, we can discuss how we're going to look at the CTA filings going forward. And I hope you liked this video. If you did, you can hit the like or thumbs up button. You can subscribe on YouTube, and I look forward to connecting with you if you have more questions. And I think we'll be following up on the CTA in 2024 and beyond as businesses get used to the filings and we figure out how we need to do them going forward.